Yeah. Hey, you see one screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Who wants to do?
ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीं हस्तादसाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ददामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्. Anyone wants to continue?
Yeah. Suvarna?
नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः।
वसुदेवसुतं देवं तं च शाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यो मोचयिष्यामि मा कषः।
Thank you.
हरि ओम्।
We are on the 13th chapter and we are actually starting to look at the 20 values of the jnani. So as we have discussed, when we think about knowledge, typically we think that knowledge is something which is there in books, and knowledge is something that I have to go to the library and assimilate some concept or something. But here in 13th chapter, the way Krishna explains, jnanam is really the means, and each one of these values that he's talking about, they are actually the means to the ultimate knowledge which allows us to realize who I am. So that is what we are looking at in terms of the means for reaching the destination, and that also represents jnanam. And this is really the most important for us to prepare our mind. So when we think about preparing our mind, what does that lead to? Right? So this is the important question we have to ask ourselves. At the end of the day, we all know that we are that absolute Brahman, right? That absolute Brahman, and in the form of this entire, in a form, can be talked about as Ishvara. Now, why are we bringing Brahman and Ishvara? We're bringing Ishvara and not Brahman, because Ishvara really is the totality which we see, which includes all forms and the qualities, everything is at the end of the day Ishvara. Of course, the sattvic amsha of that totality is what we call as the absolute Ishvara. But for the sake of today's discussion, let's think about, we can identify ourselves more with Ishvara because Ishvara is with form. So we as Jiva are also with a form, but how can me as Jiva be equated to Ishvara? Correct? So, what is really the difference between me and Ishvara? So, Jiva, we can look at as the contaminated individual. Jiva, we look at ourselves as individuals. We are all, in a sense, we do not allow ourselves to be equated to Ishvara, or we cannot even think that we Ishvara, because we are, in a sense, this contaminated or influenced by so many different qualities within us. And the uncontaminated one is actually Ishvara. If you look at it in a very simplified form, Jiva is a contaminated individual, whereas Ishvara is an absolutely unblemished, uncontaminated uh, person, or Ishvara, we can see. So, is Ishvara really somewhere else? Not really. Ishvara is actually within me itself. So there is, in its pure form, within myself, is that Ishvara, but I'm not able to equate myself as Ishvara because I feel I am actually contaminated by this. So Krishna then says, what is it that is going to make us within ourselves move ourselves from this jivatva, if you wish to say it, to the Ishvaratva. So that journey of jivatva to Ishvaratva is actually called as jnanam. Okay? That is jnanam. So that is the knowledge, and that journey from the jivatva to Ishvaratva is actually the what we saw out here, which is the purity of mind. So we need to prepare the mind, which at the moment is contaminated, and that is the one which needs to be purified. And that is the one where the purification, which is, the so-called, I would say, dirt has to be removed. It's like this, you know, when um, when we take raw gold, okay, when we take the raw gold, it is actually not really that brilliant as when I take it to form an ornament, right? Pure gold is actually clean, brilliant. It's very bright. But in its contaminated form, it is not at all brilliant. So I have to go through certain process of cleansing to remove the dirt in order to get that purity out of it, right? So too, I mean, if I look at a marble, just a piece of marble lying in somewhere, if I have to really bring the Lord Krishna out of that marble, I have to chisel away a lot of these things, which and need to put in the great, or I need to chisel away all the imperfections to bring the perfection within myself, right? Only then slowly and slowly I can actually take this sort of uneven, shapeless marble rock and then shape it into this beautiful form of Lord Krishna. Right? So this is the process of removing the unwanted forms which needs us from taking the Jiva to Ishvaratva. And this is why we call this as the 20 values, which I have just put 5 of them out here because that is where we have progressed so far. I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, we've gone really slow, and I think it's all my fault. I've been taking it really slow here. But I think it is that 20 values which is really the thing that we need to imbibe within ourselves to on this chiseling away aspect of it and putting these values. So now, does that mean, I have a lot of work to do? Um, and, work in the sense like work, do I need to do a lot of, like going to the temple every day, having a ritual, doing japas, doing all this and all this? Only when I do all that, am I really going to get it? Not really. So, what is it is nothing but an attitudinal change, That's why I'm putting out here is, all these values, when I have it, that can actually take me in this journey of Jiva to Ishvara. Okay. So it is a 20 attitudinal changes. It's just a change in attitude which I need to do, for which this 20 values have been given. And this is why we call this as the values which I need to really look at it in order for me to, first of all, fit myself. I mean, that is what we talked about before too, is I need this 20 values, first of all, to fit myself in this world, you know why am I having so many problems, or why do I go through notions in my mind that, he said that, she said that, or why are they behaving like this? All this, all this is because, and sometimes I think, the world, why are they not smiling at me? All this is nothing but this change in attitude that I need to have to fit in this world, and then also go beyond this world. Going beyond doesn't mean, of course, flying away or going out to somewhere out in the heaven or something. Because in Hinduism, we always feel heaven is not something up there, even though we use these words up there, okay, he has gone up there, or, my father in heaven, or whatever, we use this kind of, but actually, heaven is right here. And this attitude is the one which actually will help us to again change to this Jiva to Ishvara. So that is why these 20 values are given. And we saw these are the 20 values we're going through. Hopefully, we'll be able to come up to Arjavam. Let us see. And so we are at this bottom thing here. We are being accommodative, which is actually Shanti, which we will be looking at. We did this Amanatvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, we finished, and we'll be moving on. So we did all this Amanatvam. I didn't remove any of these shlokas out here, but then the point about it is that it has direct implication on all the things that we are doing today, which is, especially this areas of social media we talked about, the self-admiration, more and more a society, because of, what should I say, the aloneness which we are facing, where we are, not going out too much, speaking out, we're doing most of this using an inert object instead of a human being to text and all that. We are getting into more and more some of these simple things as amanitvam and adhambitvam and everything. So we did that, and we also looked at a case study. Then adhambitvam, we said, is this pretension, damba. Damba means pretending to be what I'm not. Um, and here we looked at adambitvam. We said what causes adambitvam, and then how adambitvam actually brings in a lot of tension and requires a memory. The reason we bring memory is I always have to remember, okay, if I met Suvarna and I told Suvarna that I'm an astrologer, then when I meet Jayashri, I have to remember what did I tell her that I'm a doctor, So these things, so adambitvam is really a big problem. But then we talked about this. Then ahimsa. Ahimsa, we said non-violence. And here, this 8 things is basically what I wanted to say last time is himsa means really injury in a very broad sense of the term. But then there are 5 kind of afflictions in the Yoga Sutra, which talks about ignorance, arrogance, desire, hatred, and death. But himsa, through himsa, we kind of cause all these things to people. So whenever we cause any of these kind of afflictions or klesha, as they say in Yoga Sutra, we are actually injuring that person. So when we do not cause any of this, the opposite. So whenever we are, treating people well, which is with love instead of hatred, and with absolutely nothing expected from them, and I'm loving, not arrogant, all this, then I'm actually exhibiting himsa. So this we do it out of three words, three weapons through kayana, vacha, and manasa. So through words, thoughts, or deeds, and we can cause injury. So we saw this too. And so ahimsa is basically I should not do what I do not, what is not expected others, when I cannot expect others to do for me. So we did ahimsa, psychology, and then we so now we come to Kshanti. Any questions so far with regard to Amanitvam, Adhambitvam, or or Ahimsa? They all are, if you see, Adhambitvam, Amanitvam, Ahimsa. So now I don't think we have, except for Anahankara, another A will come later on, but right now what we are discussing is Kshanti. So, Kshanti, it is an attitude of forgiveness, which actually comes out of extreme forbearance and tolerance. So, it is actually not very passive. It's like, oh my God, I need to tolerate the situation. The weather is like this. What can I do right now? It's snowing like crazy. Whereas you in India, it's so nice and cool. Actually, it's really beautiful in Chennai. It's February and still very cool, mild. Um, no fan is needed also. No fan, no, of course, no AC at all. So this is a beautiful quality, which is, it is actually a quality of accommodation. Okay, accommodation, not as in living accommodation, but I accommodate. I accommodate everybody in my life. You know, so it's one thing to say that, I accommodate somebody who I do not even know. Okay. Like it's much easier, for example, I mean, I still remember when I was in Germany, my friends, used to tell me, oh, in US, everybody say they're very friendly to each other, but are they really friendly? So when I walk on the street, everybody says hi, you know, but are they really that close? They used to ask me about this. Whereas in Germany, you don't see that when you cross somebody in the roads, it's not as if they will say hi to you. So it's like, why should I say hi to you? Do I really know you? Uh, but anyway, the point I'm coming to here is Shanti is that ability to accommodate anyone and everyone in our life, even the worst enemy who I have. If I can have that ability to forbear or tolerate in my life, it's a beautiful quality from that. So there is a lot of things embedded in Shanti that way. It is an attitude of forgiveness, you know, an immediate forgiveness. Somebody was really mad at me, and I'm like, it's not holding on to that. So that is, it's like a mother with your child. The child can be kicking in the womb, or child can be even after, five, up to 5 or 10. You allow the child to rant and everything, but you don't, you try to correct them, but you don't say that, no, I hate you or whatever, you don't say that. So if I can take that quality which is exhibited for a mother with a child, so it is that it can also be looked at something where it's a mental resistance to any kind of uh, I would say, when my expectations are not fulfilled by somebody. So when I get hurt, my immediate response is to give back, right? So this is where ahimsa and kshanti, they actually go together. suppose somebody really hurts me with some words, and I want to just give back, I want to lash out, or I keep that in mind, and later when I respond, So, Shanti is that even when somebody is mad at me or somebody is throwing insults or whatever, I look at that person and say that, oh, power. He or she doesn't know what they are talking about. So, it is sort of developing a mental immunity, total mental immunity in such a way that nobody is capable of developing or of disturbing my mind, you know, and I am who I am, equanimous, no matter what, you know. See, the weather we can kind of tolerate. Of course, you can wear your layers and everything, but it's that same layers of immunity I need to put on when I'm going out. So that is really what Shanti is all about. So, um, I cheerfully accept all the things around me at all the times. I really give up any kind of expectation or demand that the other person should change. So, I mean, and when everyone is good to me, I'm fine. But how do I really accept somebody that who is mean to me, or somebody who is all the time mean, and yet I have to accept that person equally as somebody who really loves me? How can I do that? So that is what Kshanti is. And why do we need to have it? Because we have to recognize that there is just no way possible that all the people will have the qualities that I like. I want them to have those qualities, so I'm friendly with that person. So, but then why should I expect this? Isn't the other person also may not, won't the other person also expect the same from me? So S- so no one is going to find me very attractive or likable. So we never pay attention to that aspect, right? So we always say it is that person is mean to me, I don't like you. But do I ever say, is that person liking me? Can we turn that thing the other way around? So that is the whole idea, is people are different completely, and I need to accept it. And I need to have that accommodative spirit in myself. And I should be willing to change for that purpose. So that accommodative spirit is what we call this again an attitudinal change. So, and this especially, of course, is needed whenever if I can make a mental note of the people with whom I don't get along, you know. So that is what Shanti is. And for Shanti to happen, I need to lower my expectations. Okay. So we tend to create an image of the person with whom we are interacting, you know, and we expect that person to behave that person to behave the same all the time. We expect people all people to behave towards me in a certain way, and we expect the situation to be the same all the time. So three things, right? So we expect situations to be the same all the time. We expect all the people to be the same all the time. Or no, we expect all people to be the same, and we expect this one person to be the same all the time. So that's our expectation, right? So, and Kshanti is that ability to be equanimous no matter what in all these three clear things. It's actually very, like I said earlier, it's very easy to be accommodative of somebody who is not known to me at all. And like I said, a complete stranger, a neighbor, all that. such a person will not disappoint me. But it's these people with whom I'm very, very close. They are the people who can actually this one. So my expectations have to be really minimal and accommodate such a person. Now, when somebody really disturbs me, now the question is, let's assume that there is somebody who is coming into my life and they are causing issues and everything. How do I really respond to such a person? Okay. Do I respond to the action? Somebody who is mean to me, somebody who is, it could be simple as, in US, somebody came and dumped all the snow into my yard. Okay. This happens, especially this time when you've had so much of snow. Some people are very careful not to dump the snow on the opposite side of the house. But sometimes it happens. What do I do? Do I respond by dumping the snow back onto that person? That's easy to do, right? That'll get my anger out of the system immediately. No, I don't do that. I have this attitude, I developed this attitude of Shanti, where I say that, that person is as important as I am in this big world of what I live in, and I try to be accommodative. So I do not respond to the action, but I respond in a way. Sometimes we use this thing, do I respond to the action or do I respond to the person? Here, I do not respond action by a reaction by this, but I respond to the fact that this person is also equally important as I am. And, by mistake, that person has done it. Let me just accommodate him and I stay calm and I take care of it. So that is what Shanti is about. Now, Shanti is actually very important also in our actions because we tend to be very mechanical people. Okay. What we do and say are not aligned to each other. And of course, that is coming up soon. It's the next value called Arjavam. But in this case, we are so habituated, with certain ways in which we do things. And this habituation happens due to many reasons, due to our own family, of course. First of all, family, uh, we grow up in a certain way where we are told that, well, um, this is how you treat some people or whatever, or you see somebody in the family treating that way, we tend to also start to, so we learn that sometimes from when we are young through our family. Of course, it can be argued saying that, did the family teach you this way or you were that way? And so you imbibe those values, right? So it could be that. So there are many reasons why we work in a mechanical fashion, mechanical or in an autopilot mode. So this quality of Shanti forces us to be alert every single day. So our actions are not are mechanical, but it's more deliberate. So it is not a sort of what should I say, a conditioned response, which is borrowed from previous experience. Like for example, with our own people close to us, we have a certain view on how the other person is going to react. So automatically my response becomes a certain way, right? So it is not that kind of a conditioned response, but it is something where I'm really trying to actively say that even that person is like me and I need to be completely alert. So it forces a certain level of alertness every single day. And this is one beautiful way in which, I really believe that we can avoid this mechanical behavior in us. Every day is a new day. Every day I'm meeting people for the first time. You know, I get into that aspect where I'm now accommodating a new person in my life, even though the person has been in my life every day. But I get up in the morning and say that, I'm meeting a new situation. So that is what Shanti allows us to be here. So that is why Shanti and Ahimsa, we call this as they work together, because on one hand, if you look at Ahimsa, so a person who practices Ahimsa is a person who never consciously hurts anybody by action, word, or thought, and one who accepts somebody good or bad. So Kshanti is one who accepts a person as they are. Ahimsa is a thing, one who never ever hurts anybody by thought, word, or action. So both of them, they go together, and when this goes together, one can really develop great qualities of compassion, forgiveness, all these. So this is why it is called as a saintly value, because and we've seen that in the great saints and Mahatmas whom we encounter in our own lives. They have such infinite capacity for that mercy, and we find that such a person is so accommodative. Such a person is very accommodative. Anybody who goes to them with any kind of a need or a question, they are able to accommodate them and work with them, you know. So this attitude of Shanti really expands one's heart to accommodate more and more people, and it accommodates all kind of circumstances, and there is absolutely no expectations at all, no desires, no demands, and so that is what is Kshanti. So I just want to open it up now on how do you see these values of Ahimsa and Kshanti, and is it something, uh, what do you think, Anant? I know you have something to say.
Hari Om. Yeah, again, looking at the example of Mahatma Gandhi, right?
Correct.
He was always like non-violence, Shanti.
Mhm.
Even though the British did everything to irritate him or make him angry or even even though with all the violence they were doing. So I mean, he believed in the ahimsa, and then throughout he continued that until we got the freedom.
Correct. So these are really, I mean, great qualities, right? I mean, so, and this is where, I mean, he was able to accommodate so many people in his lives. He was able to, so very good example of Kshanti. And it's a great leadership quality too, when you're leading a big group, and when you are accommodative of people of different levels and everything, one listens to a problem and one can really come up with a solution, because we are very accepting, we are accommodative. Our mind is not immediately colored with a certain quality or a certain prejudice or perception. So in that sense, both, and automatically, so when we practice Kshanti, Ahimsa also probably comes very naturally, right? But how, I mean, what do you think? How easy is it to practice?
Yeah, just seeing like oneness in diversity kind of a thing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It is oneness, seeing that oneness and diversity. If I can extend that oneness that I see within my family, that expansion of who me as a family is, right? If I, today, if I can accept my own parents, my own husband, my own children, and all of them, and then I expand to everybody saying that they're also my own brothers, sisters, everybody, then it becomes so much more easier. There's no need for any kind of, um, I, I mean, at a high level, of course, here we are in a very difficult situation these days where we
Right.
are talking about wars and all
Mhm.
that. But more and
Mhm.
more of practice of these values and bringing that kind of a culture, it slowly spreads into the culture of the area, the land, and everything, and brings down the tension, you know. So, will it really solve a war? Maybe, maybe not,
Mhm.
but at least within our circles, closer circles, as I start to practice, there will be a change, there will be a transformation. Yeah. So it is, in some ways, it is also Kshanti is connected to Titiksha, which means, so Titiksha basically means, um, endurance, right? Endurance. So, but here it is, endurance or acceptance without resistance of all this. So it can also be thought about as Titiksha. So, and why we need to have this Kshanti is because we know that, again, going to Madhuri's point, there's so much of diversity in this world. How do I accept that diversity? That diversity can cause a lot of issues. And I think I have really control over all my situations, but it doesn't because of the diversity. Everybody thinks differently. There can be a lot of chaos. But in order to do that, also this acceptance of people and acceptance. And that is why this action versus person is an important aspect here. Um, Acceptance will really reduce the amount of anger, reduce the amount of tension, and my mind is then available. Actually, that is also very important. My mind is not cluttered with all these things that I think I should do in order to, get back at the person or whatever. If I accept the person and say that that is that person's mistake, then my mind is actually more alert and active to take a decision, you know. So that is what this acceptance really helps, this quality of Shanti. Understandably, I mean, this is one of the most difficult values also, you know. See, amanitvam, adambitvam are things that is a kind of a cleansing procedure, but Shanti is much more deeper. Um, it's almost like, sometimes I think, you know, it's a root canal procedure, you really have to go deep down and take this dirt from ourselves, which is all these perceptions and prejudices that we have developed. So it is removal of all that and being able to accept. So, and here, this, I brought this Panchamrit Shloka, one of them, the sixth chapter. Um, Idea is that Kshanti can be developed only when I lift myself by myself. And why am I doing this? That is, again, looking at this oneness and diversity, which Madhuri said, at the highest level, I am that infinite. I am that Ishvara. I need to understand that. And I need to recognize that the thing that is stopping me or the thing which is blocking me from becoming that Ishvara is all these prejudices and everything. So only I can understand that I have these prejudices and these misconceptions about people, misconceptions about situations, you know, and we tend to hold on to that for so long. We don't realize that things will change dramatically too, and we've seen this happening. Sometimes, you look at, um, like, even I still remember when we were in US, there would be a day when there'd be so much amount of snow outside. And you think, oh my God, how is this mountain of snow really going to stop? Is it going to stop snowing, or is this going to clear up? But within a day, you have all these snow trucks moving around, and again, the road becomes so clean and you're able to move like any other day. So too, within ourselves, we have that capacity to know that nothing is permanent. Everything is constantly changing. So if I have that understanding within myself, Shanti becomes easier, and I can actually lift myself from the place where I am with all these negative qualities and everything to a much, much more positive state, to that infinite state. So, Udare dat manatmanam, natmanam avasadhyet. Atme vihyatmano. So I myself can do it, and that is the whole idea behind it. So we need to have a lot of patience in this regard. Yeah, what is that?
Sunitha, it is like rise above the situation, right? In first, you explained about the Jiva and Ishvara,
Ishvara.
right? Jiva is
Correct.
only conditional and limited.
Correct.
Ishvara is all pervading. So we
Correct.
have to rise above
That's
with the
right.
little pity or things, so
Correct.
we can
Exactly.
accept everything. Like, yeah. Thank you. Very
Exactly. I keep thinking I'm that small wave in that ocean, but I'm actually the ocean. I am that big. I am that huge. If I think I'm that small wave, I will always be I'm jealous of the bigger wave, you know. And I don't realize that that bigger wave was a small wave at some point, or I have the capacity to become the big wave because I always identify myself with a small wave. But if I think I'm that whole ocean and all these waves are in me, then who am I afraid of? Right? I don't have to be afraid of anybody. So that is Shanti gives us that ability to think at that high level. And for this, of course, I need a lot of patience with my own self. But it is something that every day I need to think about it, that I am capable of going higher. And yeah. So now coming to what Arjavam is. So Arjavam basically, in a very simple way, is that it is straightforwardness, you know. So it is straightforwardness, and it's completely devoid of any kind of deviation from how I can lead a pure life. So it is, in a sense, an absence of any kind of crookedness, it's straightforward. So it is actually derived from this root called Riju, which is the root of the word Arjuna. In Arjuna, so Arjavam, Arjuna, okay, they come from the same root, which is Riju, which is means straightforward, So when do we exhibit this quality? So this quality, we exhibit, or it is reflected when what I say is completely aligned with how I'm acting. How I'm acting in the world, What I say, what my actions, they're all completely aligned. I still remember when I was in US, when I was working for one of the companies, one of my colleagues had, as part of a signature line, uh, doing the right things even when nobody is looking. That was some form of a quote. I don't remember the entire quote, but it is doing the right things even when somebody is not looking. A simple example again from, I remember in Germany, for example, and this is, of course, more than 25, 30 years ago, I think. I used to be really amazed where, it used to be like 10 p.m. in the night, and you're trying to cross the road, and there are no cars going at all, okay? But people will still stand and wait for the walking sign come up and only then walk, you know. Um, I think I was just, of course, fresh from India, going to US, and then being to Germany. It really made a big impact on me, actually. I still remember that. So doing the right things when nobody's looking, or when whatever I say, whatever I act, it's in line. So this is a quality that we see in children, right? Children are like that. You tell them something, they do it, and if we, divert from it, they are the first person to question. So again, this is also the three levels: Kayika, Vachika, and Manasa. At the mind, at the action, and the words. So literally, our personality. We have our physical self. The other one is, it starts with the thoughts, right? So the thought level, and then I say it, and then I act it out. So thought, word, and deed, just like ahimsa. In all this, when I'm completely aligned, that is what is arjavam. So everything is in order. It's like, again, the orchestra, for example, in an orchestra where all the instruments, they come together and produces one sound. So like that, arjavam is when whatever I do, whatever I say, whatever I think, they're all in order. So that is really order, arjavam. And essentially what we call this is an alignment. And this alignment is really very, very important. If this alignment is not there, that's when we have this, what we call as stress and strain, you know. And so to be, simple things, of course, we all do this. I say that I am definitely going to exercise today. Okay, I say it, but to whom am I saying it? I'm saying it for my own self, but I don't do it. You know, straight away, Arjavam, I'm not doing this for my own self. So Arjavam is really all about alignment, and this alignment is, of course, very important. And alignment is very important because, like I said, it is ultimately the idea of being being completely in sync with everything what I do. So it's simple value, but nevertheless profound in its import on us trying to reflect and worry about, why am I not practicing this? What is it that is preventing me from not being aligned in my thought, word, and deed? It could be so many different things. What do you think? I mean, what do you think are the reasons why this doesn't happen, the alignment in thought, word, and deed?
Hari Om, a simple
Yeah.
example, like you just mentioned, I want to exercise. There is the thought, but our action, the body actually exercising is not in alignment with the thought that we should exercise. So it's it's difficult and easy at the same time. If we discipline ourselves, yes, we strive to be straightforward, we strive to be in thought, word, and deed, then it is the easiest thing to do. But we have to be honest with ourselves that we are going to be straightforward with ourselves in all three aspects of life: thought,
Right.
word, and deed. It cannot be that I'm just using the word straightforwardness, that I'm using it to describe myself. It shouldn't be that. It should be that it should show in all three aspects of
Yeah.
life. So that's both easy and difficult at the same time.
I mean, it is simple. It shows up in simple actions in our life. For example, being on time.
Yes, yes,
That is clearly a thing of arjavam, Am I on
yes,
time for everything? Am
yes,
I finishing my to-do list for the day?
yes.
Uh, am I mean, being on time is, of course, the best thing that I can think of, Uh, and why is it that we are not able to do this? Is because many times we don't know our priorities. We clutter too many things.
Yes.
Our to-do list is too huge, and of
Never
course,
ending.
never
The to-do
ending.
list
Again,
is
because
never
of
ending.
priority. Because of priority,
Yeah.
I have not prioritized who I am, first of all. What is it that I really want to do? You know, and constantly that leads to that stress and aspect. So that's really huge, I think. Anant, you have something to say on these? So, but then I really think it's that aspect of. So next, from here on, it's a little more simpler to understand. But these five values are really, ahimsa, arjavam, amaratvam, adambitvam, and kshanti. Huge impact on our own day-to-day lives. And when that is practiced, keeping that highest Vedantic truth um, of the fact that I am that infinite, but today I think I'm this finite jiva. This finite jiva conditioned with all these uh, sort of the opposite qualities of all the five that we talked about, not being straightforward or not being aligned, not being straightforward and not being aligned and not and having these misconceptions of who I am through manitvam and sometimes pretending what I'm not. So all these are the things that are pulling me down and preventing me from realizing my infinitude. And if I can practice those five values from there, it already there's a transformation that happens, and there is a growth and in my personality in who I am. So now we can do this one more value, I think, for a couple of minutes. So the next one is Acharyopasanam. So what is Acharya? Of course, Acharya refers to a teacher, it refers to a learned master, it refers to guru. So this is again a very important quality because it now takes us to that aspect of recognizing or the need for somebody, a mentor in my life. So Acharya basically means someone who collects the essence of the scriptures. I think next week I will put this one definition for Acharya. So just like, a honeybee collects all these nectars from flower, an Acharya is a person who has collected all the essence of the scriptures. So giving respect to such a learned master is called as Acharyopasanam. So Upasana basically means, going close to the teacher. So Acharya Upasanam is giving respect, and we acknowledge the need for a mentor because I recognize there are some things I may not know, because of course we do not know everything. and they're ready to follow a path which has already been set by a great master. And I'm willing to follow that path. So that is what Acharya Upasanam actually means. So we will go through rather quickly the next few. There are 9 values in this first one. We have only covered like 6 of them. We still have Shaucham, and then we have Stairyam, and then we have Atma Vinigraha. So we'll cover these 3 and we'll move on to the next shlokam next week. Okay. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ Okay.